John and I were talking about that the other day. Like, there's nothing like calling the UFC fights because you start, if it's in Vegas time, you're starting the fights at 3 p.m. and you're going all the way through to the pay-per-view. You're doing like 6 hours plus of commentary, and then you got to find times to run to pee. Because sometimes it's like I have to tell the truck, can I pee? And then you got to, because I'm drinking Monster Energy drinks and I'm taking nicotine pouches and I'm fucking fired up and I'm drinking a lot of water too. I'm drinking my hydrogen water and I have to fucking pee so bad. There's nothing worse when you're trying to form a sentence and you have to pee.
Dog,
You can't think.
it has been brutal for me. Brutal. And when I eat mushrooms, I got to pee every 20 fucking minutes.
Why?
And if I'm in a car, I got to pull over and pee. And I got to make sure I'm not in the sexual fucking territory. Like, I don't pee close to schools, churches, fucking parks. Because then they throw you under the bus for sexual whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful. But, dog, I'm in a world where there's some weeks are better than others. I don't get up at night to pee, but in the daytime, especially if I work out and I start drinking that water, oh, baby, I got to start peeing. And when I got sick, this was the beauty of it. Every time I had to pee, I'd get anxiety. I would get a panic attack. I couldn't even make it to the bathroom to walk.
Really?
I was peeing my pants on the way to the fucking bathroom, Joe. You have no idea that the last week of February, when I went to the hospital in March, that was possibly that Saturday night, my blood pressure was 212 over 100, and my oxygen level was at 86. And I wouldn't go to the hospital because I didn't want the ambulance coming to get me at 4 in the morning in front of my daughter. So I waited till 8, and then I drove myself to the hospital. I was fucked up, bro.
Wow.
That was a fucked up couple months, man. I didn't know what was going on.
And what did they determine it was?
It was, I had congenital heart failure when you have fluid in your lungs, edema, whatever. I was retained. Bro, I walk around. Right now, I'm 278. I was 265 all summer because I was really happy every day. I would go, look, I could fight in the UFC. When I walked into the hospital, I was 319.
Oh, you got big.
I got big in a month. Like a month. And I wasn't eating in the hospital, nothing.
What were you, was it like Italian food? Like what got you so big?
No, I was just retaining water. Edema is when you retain water.
Oh.
Like big time
that much water?
Oh, my God, Joe. And my lungs was getting the water, so I couldn't breathe. And then when I would not, it went from me just having to stop. Like if I would walk from here, I wouldn't make it to your bathroom. Couldn't make it to your bathroom. I would have to stop in between and take like a 5-minute break. Meanwhile, holding my peeing.
Oh, Jesus.
And your fucking stress levels going up and up because you're holding your fucking peeing. It got to the point I would walk into ShopRite, get what I had to get, but now I got to stand there. Because I got to fucking pee from the walking.
Oh, no.
And the bathroom's a mile away. There's no walking. You just take your dick out and pee. There's no even...
Oh, my God.
In those days, it wasn't even getting the container from the car because I started bringing the container in the car. There was no time. You just get out, open the car door, and make believe you're waving at somebody. And you take your dick out, and you're peeing, or I make believe like I'm getting something from the back of the car. The whole time I'm peeing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. So as soon as I went in, they put me on these fucking things for 3 days, and I lost like 20 pounds of fluid. It was fucking amazing. I was peeing one of those full things, 1 an hour.
Really?
Couldn't even make it to the bathroom. I would just get up and fucking pee in it, fill it up. And then they did a nuclear blood test, and they had to take out, I don't know, fucking 6 tubes of blood in 45 minutes. And that's when they came back and they go, you got 65%. You're overloaded on fluid in your body. You're retaining that much water, and your blood cells are off the charts. So we got to start draining. I started draining. They were taking, I don't know how many tubes from me every 3 hours of blood.
Wow.
Look at my fucking arms. They're fucking banged up. I was a fucking heroin junkie. So when I got out, I started taking it. Listen, when you end up in a hospital, there's a problem. Okay? There's a problem.
Yeah,
you cut a stitch, that's not a problem. You had a situation. That's how I looked at it. There's a problem here. We got to get to the bottom of this fucking.
And what is the bottom of it? What's the cause of it?
I was taking MK677.
What is that?
And it's a amino acid peptide which mimics growth hormone. in your brain. And it had a lot of dumps, like it would do insulin dumps and all this type of shit. And it was raising my sugar. It was doing a ton of shit. I didn't even know it. But this ain't the first time it happened. It happened when I was doing testosterone when I was 50. I had a rush of red blood cells, and I was in D.C., and I had the worst fucking migraine headache for days. And they took blood out, and they go, you got too many red blood cells.
Wow.
So that's why I can't do any of that shit. And it's like the man said, if you're going to do growth, do growth. Don't get something that's going to mimic growth.
What Ways to Well can do for you,
What's that?
what Ways to Well could do for you will change your fucking life.
Yeah, no.
We get you a full blood panel and figure out what's going on, adjust your nutrition, adjust your
I love
vitamins.
Brigham. Bringham's a
the
good
best.
fucking man.
He's the best.
And he loves what he does.
Sleep is critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know what is amazing for sleep, man? You know what you should get in your place? Get yourself a sauna.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You do 20
take cold
minutes
showers.
in the sauna. That's for fucking clowns. You wear a rubber nose when you do it?
Yeah. Hey, man.
I take cold showers after yoga.
You wear a rubber nose. Man, Joe's being mean to me. He called me a clown.
He's a fucking clown.
Fucking clown. I'm trying to create shock proteins.
Yeah.
Fuck those are.
You got to get really cold. You should have an ice bath. You want to do that.
I'll
But
do an ice bath. I've done that
Have you done
before.
cryo?
Yeah, I've done cryo.
Have you done the real one
At
when
the
your
Onnit
head
lab.
goes in? No,
did
you
it
did the
Onnit.
one where the neck below. Onnit has the bullshit one.
Really?
Yeah, the real one's only made by Cryo Healthcare. They have one in New York, or one center in New York. They have one in L.A. They have one here. They have one in Woodland Hills, like 10
Come
minutes
sit in an
away.
ice bath for 20 minutes and talk to me.
Okay.
You go numb.
It sucks, I'm sure.
It's a
But
bitch.
so does 250 degrees below zero.
Have you not done an ice
for
bath?
3 minutes? Yeah, I have. Come on, bro. It sucks.
All right, bro.
I get it.
Did you wear a
I sang.
clown nose? Burn. I just double burned him now.
Sing a song. I was singing.
Sing.
while I was yeah, it's not good. There's probably some real benefits to ice baths. The benefit of cryo over ice baths is you could work out right afterwards.
Oh, wow.
Ice baths, they recommend you not work out. They're like, you just chill out for a while. But it's great after you're working out. But for muscle strength and development, it's actually not good to do it right after training. You actually should wait quite a while, like maybe an hour or two.
So when you've had countless conversations with cutting edge scientists and exercise people, the 5 things that you do every day, like that without fail, what are they in terms of for your health?
First of all, I supplement. I think
You believe in supplements?
I believe absolutely wholeheartedly in supplements.
Like
I do
which
not-
though? What kind?
I take Athletic Greens. It's a sponsor. It's a great whole food supplement. I'm doing an ad for them right now. One serving has 12. One scoop has 12 servings of fruits and vegetables in terms of the amount of antioxidants you
Jesus.
get. It's very healthy. It's good just for like a backup plan.
Right.
Like I take these little packs with me on the road. I take a lot of the Onnit shit. I take obviously
I use
Alpha
Shroom Tech.
Brain,
That shit works.
Shroom Tech. You know, we have some awesome whole food supplements. There's a bunch of great stuff. I take a lot of vitamins. I take vitamin D. I take vitamin B. I take a lot of fish oil, a lot of essential fatty acids. I believe in all those things. I cut way back on my sugar. I mean, way back.
Yeah.
To where maybe once a week I'll have dessert.
Yeah,
Maybe
I feel
once
that.
a
I do
week.
that too.
Yeah, I don't fuck around, man.
Yeah.
I just
Do you
I really,
intermittent fast?
Yes.
Me too.
16 hours a day.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah, every day.
That makes me feel that, my psoriasis is 100% gone.
That's awesome.
Well, part of it's also, and I got to give a shout out to Dan Garner. Dan Garner 88 at Gmail. If you need his email, he's he's the guy who.
What a terrible idea.
No,
That guy-
it's fine. It's fine. I want to promote him because
You know
he's
how many fucking people are going to email that guy
Good.
pictures of dicks?
good, but a lot of people have psoriasis.
You ever talk to Wim Hof?
I know him.
Do you know Wim? Okay,
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, oh,
'Cause
yeah.
Wim doesn't give a fuck if you breathe out of your nose or your mouth. He's like, just breathe, man.
I know. He
just
doesn't
breathe,
give.
motherfucker. He's so crazy. I love that guy.
He's comedy. No, I've had a few. Women. I've had a few. We've had a few experiences. Let's just put it that way. But we've had him at a couple of experiences, and I've done some stuff with Wim. I've known Wim for I don't know, like 4 or 5 years now, maybe a little longer. So he come usually when he was in town. I think the last time, maybe when you saw him, he comes to visit. So I get him. Usually when I go with Wim, I usually translate for him when he goes to one of his classes. I'm usually like trying to.
Oh right. Even though he
in
does
case people
sort of
don't
speak
understand.
English,
No,
yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying. Sometimes I'll be with somebody. They'll be like, "What did he say?" I'll be like, "What he means is take a deep breath."
Yeah, he's such a character.
He is a
man.
character.
The guy went to fucking the top of Everest barefoot.
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Oh yeah. I almost lost his toes too. Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. No, he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, his art actually is tumo. Is a derivative of tumo, and I'm not sure if you know what tumo is, but tumo is a Himalayan breathing technique that the monks have. They have this one thing where they dry sheets. So they have this thing, a ceremony where they go at night in the Himalayas when it's frozen, it's snow, and the guy sits there and they put wet sheets, wet blankets on them, and they breathe and get their bodies so hot that they dry the blankets, and then the guy that can dry the most blankets at the end of the night is like the guy, but
Really?
Yeah, and it's called tumo, and it's you can go online and look it up. But tumo is a Himalayan breathing technique that was never exposed to Westerners until just as of recently. But Wim's work is a derivative of tumo. But nose breathing, it's all about nose breathing. It's all about nose breathing, and when you understand the science of it. But he's right about getting people to just breathe because people are not breathing. And we just had, in fact, we had another Belissa. What's her? I want to say it's a Russian name, but she has a great book. She trains fire and police and military breathing. We just had her we did an XPT in Miami about 2 weeks ago, and she came as a guest speaker and was working on really trying to create more volume. And then a lot of people's rib cages aren't moving, and so they have a whole, there's ways to try to increase your movement of your rib cage. Your rib cage should actually open, like you can take a tape and measure your rib cage when you're fully exhaled, and then when you inhale, it should expand like 3 inches or more for you to be really optimally breathing. And a lot of people, part of it has to do with the whole 6-pack abs and what's aesthetically pleasing. But meanwhile, when you have a real nice set of 6-pack abs, you're not able to diaphragmatically breathe. You're not able to use your diaphragm. You're not using your diaphragm when you have that. Yeah, because the tightness isn't allowing the diaphragm to push down. The diaphragm and the pelvic floor actually squeeze your organs together, and that is actually massaging the organs, which influences your digestion and everything, and it deals with a bunch of acid reflux and a bunch of other things. But when the abs are so tight that the stomach can't expand, the organs can't push this belly out, then you have a limitation in your and then the ribs aren't moving. It's just.
But guys are going to hear this and go, "Good, I'm going to stay fat. I don't need a 6-pack."
Well, but no,
I know what he's saying, though.
Yeah, but I actually, if you're really using your lungs, you'll strengthen your core in a way that you'll get core. You can have 6-pack abs and not have core stability. So, and you know this. When you look at a lot of, not every single great fighter is just ripped.
No, some of the best ones ever are not ripped at all, like Fedor.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about that for an example of, that aesthetic isn't always function, right? And of course the mind is always ahead of everything. I don't care what the car looks like if it's got no motor, it doesn't do anything. So it's the body only goes where the brain tells it. But the fact is that you see some of the best athletes. When you look at certain athletes, they're not the physical specimens that you've ever seen. You're like that guy's the most ripped and shredded. Sure. And a lot of times those guys get knocked out. You see the guy come in and you just go, this guy's going to kill this guy. And then he just gets, annihilated by the guy that looks maybe not quite as hard, right? Part of it is like genetics.
Max Holloway is a perfect example, Hawaiian guy.
Yeah.
He's not like shredded. He's strong, obviously, but he looks more like a swimmer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you might find that his breathing, he might have better air volume, because at the end of the day, a lot of it's about oxygen.
Cardio. Yeah. Cardio, and Max's cardio is off the charts.
Exactly. So he's getting more movement out of there. Again, we've created created these, aesthetic things in our culture, like, oh, a six-pack abs, a sign of this, and da-da-da. But when you look at real breath work and how the diaphragm works and how the ribs expand, you realize it's like none of us are really doing it right, and you can actually create more volume. You said you like cordyceps mushrooms.
Yes.
Well, those are actually a vasodilator. Those help you absorb oxygen. Those can up your VO2 max, right? There's only a couple things that how to increase your VO2 max, but cordyceps is one of them. Beets is another one. You can create more volume by expanding your lungs. So by opening the rib cage and creating more room, that can promote your VO2 max.
Now, when people are hearing this and they're hearing breath work, folks who have never done anything like that, they really don't understand what you're saying. Like, what do you mean by breath work? Like, give us an example of like a protocol.
Well, I mean, a real simple. I mean, they do it in pranayama. They have it in apnea. There's a thing called holotropic. But breath work really is when you isolate the breathing system, and the simplest way, and that's why Wim says, "Hey, I don't give a shit how you breathe. Just breathe,
motherfucker.
That's right.
Breathe.
Yeah. So, like we'll do a breath routine and we'll sit somebody down and we'll say, okay, breathe like you're running. Breathe like you're running. Mm-hmm. And we'll tell the guy, breathe like he's running. And they'll go, I go, that's a slow run, buddy. Like, breathe like you're running. Like, like anytime, any movement and any air in and out is a form of breath work, right? And especially when you isolate the system and you're not doing it because of an activity. The fact is that when you use that system and you work it and you're not detracting from it by doing an exercise. If you're doing the assault bike, well, your arms are working and your legs are working. So all the oxygen that you're absorbing is going into your arms and legs. When you're isolated and you just do the breathing alone, now the oxygen is going into that system and that system is going to develop and get better. Then when you do your assault bike, after you develop that system, so we'll isolate breath work and we'll just do it alone. Well, whether we're doing breath holds, we're doing some kind of apnea breath work, which is, we can do a pattern where you're doing like you hold for 30 seconds and then you breathe in for 15 and then you breathe out for 15 and then you hold again. Then you go in and out and hold, in and out and hold. That's one pattern. Another pattern is in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. Like, again, there's and then there's pranayama, apnea, holotropic. There's just some where you're oxygenating the system where, like Wim's would be where you just get that rhythm going and do that for 5 minutes. And people go, oh, wow, I feel lightheaded. And I go, yeah, because you haven't had oxygen like that in your head. You haven't had oxygen in your system like that, right? So again, bringing consciousness to your breath. We're not just walking along in life like not thinking about breathing. Mm-hmm. That's the beginning of breath work. Just awareness of, hey, I need to... I just need to breathe in and out,
just
right?
To stay conscious. Yeah, and that's a big one with martial arts. You see in jiu-jitsu with beginners, when they first start sparring for the first time, they panic and they have shallow breath. And you got to tell them, okay, stop right now. Just breathe.
Oh,
just breathe.
Oh, yeah. Well, fight or flight.
Yeah.
Fight or flight.
But it's interesting how they can't get a deep breath.
Yeah.
They hyperventilate.
Yeah, well, you put somebody in the ice for the first time that hasn't done it.
Oh, yeah. That's the craziest.
You want to see it?
Right?
That's an instantaneous. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't breathe.
Oh, yeah.
But you eventually learn.
Well, the system turned. That's actually an involuntary response to get out.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's like you have the option, so you should exercise that option.
Well, that's an involuntary response. That's your subconscious mind protecting the organism. Like, hey, your body intuitively knows this is dangerous environment. Get out. And so that reaction is to get you to get out. When you make a conscious effort to not leave that environment, then the body goes, oh, okay, you're not going to get out. Okay, well, now I'll organize. I'll bring the blood to the organs. Mm-hmm. I'll adjust everything. I'll boost your hormones. Yeah. And then pretty soon you don't get that response anymore. Once you do it on a regular basis, the body just goes, oh, here we are again, back to that ice thing. Bring the blood, boost the hormones, bring all the blood in the organs, that. So, but that's a similar thing to what you're talking about in jiu-jitsu, where people are the stress on the system. They're stressed, and so they're involuntarily, and that's fight or flight. One thing you can really do to calm a kid down is the way you get yourself into parasympathetic, where you bring your thing down, is when you extend your breath for 7 seconds on the inhale and the exhale. That'll bring everything down. Like if you want to calm down and your kids stress, your little kids and you get them to just breathe in for 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And I tell people, think about a sigh.
My youngest daughter, when she would get upset, she would do that. She would, and I'd try, like, you got to breathe,
Yeah.
calm down.
But 7 seconds is the magic number.
Yeah.
If you can extend the breath for 7 seconds, then the body goes into parasympathetic, and totally that's what you do to like go to sleep at night. Like if you're having a hard time. So there's a bunch of stuff to learn about the breath, which is amazing. I think the reason why the breath has always been so important to me is just because of the ocean.
Sure.
Because growing up, when you almost drowned, 1,000 times, air is important. You get to you just get to appreciate like there's none down there, and it's all up there, and so be cool down there, so you can get back up.
Well, I learned breath work because of Hicks and Gracie. I mean, I'm watching Hicks and Gracie practice yoga.
He's a friend.
Oh, you know Hickson?
Yeah.
You know he does that. What is that called? That stomach thing. What is that stomach thing called?
Well, that's the pranayama.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's a name for it.
Yeah. Where you twist the.
He really sucks his organs up in. His son can do it amazingly. Crone can do it amazingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
super good for you.
Well,
good for the organs.
Yeah. And that the ability to control your breath like that is so critical when you're sparring. So critical to get oxygen in these long training sessions.
Well, for your life.
Yeah.
For your life. Anytime you're in the stress, if you can control your breath, that controls your heart rate.
Yeah. Do you ever do 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out? Do you ever do that?
Yeah.
Just slow, deep breaths in, slow, deep breaths out. That's an amazing exercise.
Yeah. Well, that's the extension of that. That
7,
parasympathetic, that's bringing it. 7's just the minimum amount. But whenever you go into any of those long extended stuff, and then those breath holds, anytime you hold the breath, then you get that CO2 level, and that's what gives you the angst to, what's interesting, because, Wim's done like some record breaking stuff, and you have that free diving stuff where they scrub oxygen, where they hyperventilate and scrub the CO2 and get that real low, but you have to be careful about shallow water blackout. So we don't really practice any of that stuff. We do more like assault bike, jump in the pool and see how long you can hold your breath. And then 5, 10 seconds is like, that's big time. 15 seconds, you're like, wow, that was amazing. At maximum heart rate, how long can you hold your heart? I mean, how long can you hold your breath? That's a challenge.
So you keep an assault bike right next to the pool?
Yeah. Yeah, just for
so you
punishment.
got one to roll, you roll it into the sauna.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God, man.
There's always another, twist to the pretzel.
And it's 5 hours from Cleveland, so wasn't a quick jump.
Food poisoning is sketchy. It's
Sucks,
a weird feeling.
dude. Sucks. It was awful,
I've had
man.
it 4 or 5 times in my life. It's never good.
That's the second time. The first time I had it was in college. It was the worst thing ever. It was way worse. This was both ends. This is when your mouth and back door. When you're it's like a cartoon. I had it in college from movie theater popcorn.
What?
That's real shit.
Movie theater
That's
popcorn
real shit,
gave you
dude.
food poisoning.
Here's how we knew. Me and this other dude, we ate totally different meals all day, and this other friend of ours too. And long story short, whatever, we both woke up sick the same time, like in the middle of the night. And we had asked when I went to the doctor finally the next day, because I was sick all day. And the doctor was like, what'd you eat? I detailed it, and he goes, oh, yeah, sometimes the butter can be spoiled or rotten.
Oh, actual butter.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why they use that fake-ass butter.
Hell yeah.
What is that fake-ass butter made out of?
I don't fucking know.
What the fuck is movie popcorn theater butter made out of if it's not real butter? Because most places don't have real butter.
Jamie's laughing at my sicknesses.
No, it's
The
not.
movie popcorn.
What do you think it is? It's like got to be some
Like
weird
some sort of
vegetable
canola
oil
or something. Yeah, let's see.
Oh, nasty.
It was
shit
weird. It was
for
weird.
you.
Yeah, we
Butter
both
flavored oil. Yeah.
Butter flavored
oily.
Can't believe it's not butter. What is that?
Ugh, margarine.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, they
Do you know
say
how bad that stuff is for you.
Trash.
People used to think margarine's the way to go. Like butter's terrible for you. Have some margarine. Margarine's non-dairy.
it's
it's fucking
way worse.
horrible for you. But all processed oils, they're finding out from those fake meat burgers.
The
They fed them
Impossible
to
burger?
rats, and they're giving them liver cancer.
Yeah.
Pull up what the study was. Yeah. One of those, Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat or Not Really Meat, whatever the fuck it is.
yeah. Not meat, but looks like meat. We're trying to make it look like meat.
It's processed oils.
With grill marks on it. Why do they do that
The weird
shit?
shit, it's mostly oils.
Yeah.
It's like oils from vegetables. It's very strange.
A lot of soy and shit like that.
Like those processed vegetable oils are terrible for you.
Yeah.
You know what's good for you? Olive oil. That's a good vegetable oil. Avocado oil is good for you. But like all that other shit, like canola and all that stuff's fucking terrible.
This is my
for
question.
you.
Is it
Here
because
is.
it's not naturally occurring?
Rat feeding studies suggest the Impossible Burger may not be safe to eat. Scroll down. This is GMO science. It says, hold on a second. Make that a little larger. Rats. What are you doing? What's going on with
I'm
your
trying to
phone?
make it bigger and it's just going up.
Rats.
It's not doing
Stop. Stop moving. Go back. Jesus, Jamie. Stop. Go back. Go back.
I'm back.
No,
This is it.
no, it's not.
There it
Thank
is.
you. Thank you.
That's it for the picture.
Rats fed the the fucking text there, buddy. Rats fed the genetically modified yeast-derived protein soy. Whoa, say that word.
Lehemoglobin.
No, lehemoglobin.
Lehemoglobin.
Lehemoglobin. That sounds like an Irishman.
Danny
He's-
Lehemoglobin.
Oh, Danny Lehemoglobin.
He's a good boy. He
The
is Danny
burger's
Lehemoglobin.
key ingredient developed unexplained changes in weight gain and significant signs of toxicity. Why did I put the word significant in there? It wasn't even there.
It felt right.
It did. I'm an editor. Okay. Unexplained changes in weight gain and signs of toxicity. And it said the Impossible Burger is a plant-based burger. The key ingredient, which is a protein called soy lehemoglobin,
Lehemoglobin.
SLH, derived from genetically modified yeast. A rat feeding study commissioned by the manufacturer Impossible Foods found that rats fed SLH developed unexplained changes in weight gain as well as changes in the blood that can indicate that the onset of inflammation or kidney disease as well as possible signs of anemia.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Impossible Foods dismissed these statistically significant effects as non-adverse or having no toxicological relevance. It's
so funny you can just dismiss things. They did a real study and they're like, not real.
Well, they're dismissing it because it's not convenient. I mean, it's
Right.
real simple. I mean, you do rat studies doesn't necessarily mean it transfers to people. But that stuff is okay. What's the ingredients? Let's find out what the fucking
that's what I wanna
ingredients
know,
of these
how they make
Impossible.
it.
Because that's not the only thing that I've read. I've read things by actual nutritionists that are saying, look, you want to be on a plant-based diet, you should eat real foods. You can eat healthy on a plant-based diet. You can eat real vegetables and avocado and, there's plenty of good stuff to eat. Coconut oils, all this stuff is healthy for you. But when you start making shit look like meat, that's when shit gets squirrely because you're finding all kinds of, they're adding all sorts of processed food. Why'd you take that off the screen?
I didn't want to be distracting while you were talking.
Oh, no, it's okay. So what the fuck is in there?
Top 5 ingredients.
Calories. 4-ounce serving, which is pretty skimpy, clocks in at 240 calories. That's in the range of a beef burger, depending on fat content. Cholesterol. The Impossible contains no cholesterol. To compare, a regular beef patty contains about 80 milligrams. Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. Scroll up. Fat, 14 grams, includes 8 grams of saturated fat, which is generally considered less healthy than unsaturated fat. That's not true. It's entirely dependent upon the source, and it's entirely dependent upon like how you're eating, like what you're eating.
Yeah.
Like it's the idea that saturated fat is bad for you. This has all been debunked. This is comparable to a beef burger, mostly due to the coconut oil, which is healthy for you fuckers. This year, the Impossible replaced a portion of the coconut oil, which is the highest in saturated fat, god damn it, with sunflower oil, which is way shittier for you, which is an unsaturated fat. God damn. This, talking to nutritionists on this podcast has been so enlightening, but so confusing when you see the way that people still want to eat low fat, and they don't understand, like, fats are important. Your
Yeah, they're
body
good.
fucking needs them. They're good for your brain. They're good for everything. Omega-3s, omega-6s.
That was the revolution of, I remember as a kid, everything became, in like the late 80s and 90s, everything was lower fat, but it was higher sugar content, right? So it was just like, less fat, but they were just increasing the sugar. It was like 1% milk. That's the
Right.
biggest joke when they're
Right,
like,
they put sugar in it.
less fat. Yeah, but they substituted it with tons of fucking sugar.
Because it tastes terrible.
Yeah, it tastes like shit without the fat.
All those monsters that put low-fat milk in their coffee, who the fuck
Piece
are you?
of shit.
Who are you? They're tricked.
burn.
They got tricked. They got tricked by this idea that you're supposed to have low fat. Find out. Pull up something. What is the Impossible Burger healthy? Is it healthy?
Well, here's the thing. They were pushed. That article obviously was siding with the Impossible Burger because they cited 4 items, and it was like soy protein, coconut, and something else. They don't really tell you how the process is that they make those. That's the thing. They won't say, well, here's how we derive these things and fucking process them.
I was going to say, before I even looked this up, I don't think that they're even marketing as being healthier. It's just an alternative for meat for people that really still want to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's it.
But is it healthy for you?
I don't think that this.
I don't think they're
saying
even
it at all.
bothering. Yeah, it's probably less healthy for you than a fucking McDonald's cheeseburger, which is barely meat anyway.
In a way, I think that one of the cultural jobs this podcast has performed, and this is like whether deliberately or not, is it demonstrates that the old political lines that we used to comfortably abide within are starting to sort of break down. Because, like something like an obvious signifier of a particular type of person, i.e. I go hunting, now we have to accept is coupled with your view that the agricultural industry needs to be regulated and it's disgusting. Now, there we have complete and total agreement, and we both can see that the way that legislation is set up is biased towards corporate interests, commercial interests, and profit. And so for me, bloody whether Chris Pratt having his own sheep, I think no problem, man. That's not. I don't need to spend my time worrying about that. I'm a little bit like Alex Jones, like with the why are we worrying about flat Earth if they've got them babies and all of that stuff. It's like, I feel like, why don't we focus on the things that are making a genuine difference to the way people are living lives? And it seems to me that one of the priorities is in a new global landscape that we're living with. What are the dominant forces and what are the goals of the dominant forces? And how detached are those goals from the lives of what you might say are ordinary people, or the majority of people, to use a less complex term. And
what's probably most horrific about reforming the system is that the people that are going to suffer the most are the people that are the poorest. So, like, if you think of fast food in particular, right? There's a lot of really poor people that rely on fast food because it's very inexpensive. If you go and you can get a lot of calories for a small amount of money, right? But if you go from the fast food restaurant and then you go down the line to factory farming, and then somehow or another they eliminate factory farming, and they say, no, if you're going to raise animals, you have to have the same sort of standards that we would expect if we knew you, if we were there. We want pastures, we want animals living in the wild. We want, fenced in, but like living like an actual animal. Not this crazy warehouse bullshit you guys are running. Well, that's going to up our operation costs. Well, then that's how it's going to be. So then the beef becomes far more expensive. Now, if the beef becomes far more expensive, then what do the restaurants do? Well, they're going to have to make things more expensive too. So who's going to suffer? The poor people. Who's going to suffer with cheap meat in supermarkets? Poor people that can't afford it.
No, but I think that what happens, Joe, is you have started to pull a thread that reveals how the fabric of our culture is corrupted, because it shouldn't be more expensive. The only reason it's more expensive is because everything is put into a capital-based ideology. I've heard many times on this show, you discussing universal basic income. This is like the beginning of looking at alternative economic models. And there's an argument for saying everyone has the right to a nutritious diet. Everyone has the right to a safe home. So if we start prioritizing those ideas above these organizations have the right to maximize profit, we go, well, hold on a sec. Them maximizing profit, that's getting taken off the table. And then there comes your counter argument about innovation. Well, I would say if innovation slows, no problem, because we've decided as a culture to prioritize housing and nutrition for the majority of people. Now, you can say that starts to, that's kind of socialism, and I don't think that can work on a continental scale. I think we have to break down centralized systems, whether those are corporate centralized systems or national. I feel like the time has gone where there's too much diversity. There probably always was diversity. People are different. We're influenced by our cultures, our schools, our education, our class, our race. There's all these factors. And then to expect us all to live in this sort of single bandwidth of this is what America is, or this is what France is, or this is what England is. It's too different now. But it seems like the standards we're adhering to, unconsciously or otherwise, is these groups have the right to make as much money as they can, and to interfere with that is un-American or un-British or whatever it was, because this is beyond national ideas, I'm sure. So For me, you pull that thread. Oh, it's the poor that will suffer. Well, then no, we have to rule out the poor suffer. So what happens in the end? You start to get into redistribution of resources, managing and regulating the power of the most powerful people. And whenever that conversation starts, it gets shut down because they want to conserve.
Even in a capitalist system, wouldn't it be more ethical if everybody started from the same starting block? Well, that's what's wrong with the world, right? What's wrong with the world is some people are in they have a terrible hand of cards they've been dealt, and my point about food is that the people that are going to suffer the most are the people that rely on the cheap food.
Yes, your
as soon
point
as
is
that cheap
valid.
food gets pulled away, then a lot of those supermarkets and a lot of those fast food stores that rely on that factory farm food, they're going to be in a bad situation. Things are going to be much more expensive. And if things are much more, if they make animals live like, what is that guy's name? Polyface Farms, Joel Salatin. Yeah. He's a fascinating cat. I had him on my podcast before. He's sort of a farm reformist. And what he believes is that these animals should live just like animals. When he has pigs, he puts them in a fenced area, but he moves the fenced area every day. So like the pigs move to a different spot. And so they're just constantly foraging and eating acorns. And but they're living like a pig. They're living in a natural. They're not living in some crazy warehouse.
Yes.
He does same with his chickens. He has this mobile chicken coop, and he moves it from pasture to pasture. And this is how he operates his entire farm.
Yes, it seems again that a point we've talked about earlier, that we ought to, like, if we're looking, like, no one knows what's right, so perhaps what we could try and do is replicate what we do naturally. And so there is an argument that naturally we do hunt. There is an argument that naturally we do eat meat.
We naturally grow food too, though.
Right.
There's an argument that, like I was saying, like getting into organic gardening. If you have your own garden, man, that is like one of the most karma-free things ever. If you could figure out a way to have your own compost, your own garden, and you don't ever have to rely on anybody else for your food, well, then you're not participating in that shit at all.
Do you think that the spirit of entrepreneurship could be turned to designing these systems? Do you think the only thing that incentivizes people is maximum profit? I do too. I think that it is possible that people would sit around and go, how do we organize a society that's fairer and just, that doesn't kill people's individualism or creativity or right to pursue different goals or to be who they are and believe but like, I feel like there's so much fog in the air. People don't know what they actually believe in because there's so much powerful cultural influence, so much toxin, physical toxin, literal toxins and toxicity, cultural toxicity. How am I to protect my children from cultural influences that are telling them you have to look this way, be this way, behave that way? These are the things that are cool. If you're not this, you're not a man. If you're not this, you're not a woman. As a parent, I feel the obligation to create an environment where they can grow up to be who they are, in inverted commas. And then when you sort of scale that up to a society, how can we start to recognize, look, is this time to look at different systems for living? And what I feel is people want to be involved in the power systems that affect them. Like if you have a group of 100 people, they want to be able to run their own schools, run their own care systems, be in charge of their own lives, not just be some little beam of energy flicked about by cultural forces that they can't reach or touch. It's alienating. And like one of the things in Marxism, and that and I know very little about this subject, is he says that when capitalism reaches a certain point, people will be lost, alienated. They'll feel like a cog in a machine. No one will have no pride in their work. No one will know what it's like to make a whole bicycle and think, look, I made that. You're the guy that makes the pedals. Now fuck off home. Like I listened to enough Jordan Peterson to understand that there are limitations to what socialism and Marxism can achieve. But just because capitalism is better than feudalism, that doesn't mean that's the end of the conversation, that we shouldn't be looking for fairer, better, more just ways of living.
Whoa.
But again, thinking about that, about in relation to addiction, I think often when you talk about something like work addiction, right, which is obviously caused by partly childhood trauma that I'd experienced, there's been a real change in how we think about that as well. It relates back to what we were saying right at the start about chemical hooks, right? So if you look at the debate about non-drug-based addictions, right? You think about 20 years ago, people start talking about sex addiction. A guy called Stanton Peele, who I interviewed a lot, first writes about love addiction, all sorts of... Exactly, gambling addiction. at the time, initially what people say is, well, this is bullshit, because they believe the chemical hooks theory of addiction, right?
Right.
So it just seems like, well, that's not. I mean, there's an episode of Cheers, actually, which now would be, yeah, you wouldn't do this, but there's an episode where the whole hilarious premise of the show is that, what's the Ted Danson, Sam Malone? Ted Danson's character thinks he's a sex addict, and this is like a punchline all the way through the show, right? This is the attitude that ends when he goes through a meeting of Sex Ed and Love Addicts Anonymous, and like there's some woman talking about how she gets like has sex with every man, and it ends with him just putting his arm around her, and that's the end of the show, right? That wouldn't happen in a sitcom. Now people thought, well, it might, but people don't think the very idea of sex addiction is ridiculous in the way they did, right? I don't think. I think
they still
maybe
think
they
it's
do. Maybe
ridiculous.
but then I think that's because there hasn't been a shift in gamble. If you go to a meeting of Gamblers Anonymous, as I have with a friend, I don't have a gambling problem, but just to support someone, they are as addicted as anyone in the next room down at Narcotics Anonymous.
I've known a lot of gambling addicts.
And did you feel that they were as addicted?
Oh yeah, they're straight up junkies. And they might as well be chasing crack.
Exactly, and that tells us something really important, because you don't snort a roulette wheel, right? You don't inject online poker, right?
Right.
If you can have, Professor Nutt said this to me, if you can have all of the addiction but none of the chemical hooks, that tells us about how we've overestimated the role of chemical hooks in addiction.
There is a chemical hook. There's a dopamine addiction.
Well, absolutely everything you do that you like gives you dopamine, a dopamine hit. So I think there's been this attempt to integrate it by going, oh, well, there's this pleasure in the brain. But
it's also a self-destructive issue. There's something about gambling. There's a lot of self-hate involved, and this overwhelming feeling of failure that a lot of gambling addicts have because they fail so often, and they're always trying to chase the dragon. They're always trying to make up for all the past things they've gone wrong. With this big score, we're going to settle it out.
There's someone who talked to me about, I just think about what you're saying in relation to him, a guy called Peter Cohen, who's a professor in the Netherlands, who actually didn't say this to me directly, I read it. He says we shouldn't call it addiction, we should call it bonding. That human beings have an innate need to bond and connect, right? And when you're happy and healthy, you'll bond and connect with like the people around you with meaningful work. Mm-hmm. But if you can't do that because you're isolated or traumatized or beaten down by life, or you haven't been taught how to do that, you will bond with something that gives you some sense of relief, right? Now, for some people that might be porn, for some people that might be gambling, for some people it might be cocaine, alcohol, whatever. But he says if you only have one bond that's giving you any relief, you will obsessively return to that bond, right? And I don't think that's a total, and as he would say, that's not a total explanation for what's going on. But I do think that is a useful way to think about some of these behavioral addictions, right? So someone I know very well, a relative of mine has a gambling addiction, and this is someone who has no alternative form of joy or pleasure in their life, right? Mm. And gambling gives a moment, well, lots of moments. Essentially, if you look at someone who's playing online poker, as I've done with my relative, they're not happy. Right? It's not like looking at someone watching a nice movie, right? You can see, and I don't mean, someone with an addiction problem playing online poker. Some people have, most people don't have a problem.
Right.
It's the relief of just being absent from your life for a moment, or for however long you play, rather than. I went to this, for Lost Connections, my book about depression, I went to the first ever internet rehab center in the United States. It's a weird place. It's an impressive place, actually. I like the people there. It's in Spokane, just outside Spokane in Washington. It's called Restart Washington. And I remember going there. It was really interesting to think about this. I remember arriving. It's a clearing in the woods, right? A big wooden place in the clearing in the woods. And I remember absolutely instinctively looking at my phone and feeling really, when the minute I got out of the car, I'm feeling really pissed off that I couldn't check my email. I was like, oh, wait, you're in the right place, right? And it's really interesting because they get all kinds of people in Restart Washington, but they disproportionately get young men who are obsessed with multiplayer role-play games. Like then it would have been World of Warcraft, now it would be Fortnite. And speaking to these young men, I remember having this realization talking to the woman who runs it, is an amazing woman called Dr. Hilary Cash, who said to me, you've got to ask, I think it relates to what you're saying about gambling, you've got to ask what these young men are getting out of this game, because they're getting something out of it, right? And she argues that one of the things they're getting is the things they used to get from the culture but no longer get.
Like
right?
what?
Well, a feeling they're good at something, a feeling that other people see them, that they're part of a tribe, a feeling that they're moving around. Kids spend very little time outdoors now, right?
I think there's also anticipation. There's puzzles. There's things where you're trying to figure out whether or not something's right or wrong and how to get it. And then if you do get it, you get this positive surge. If you don't get it, I think there's human reward systems that are being mirrored there in gambling as well.
Absolutely. And what psychologists call that a feeling of mastery. Feeling of mastery is when you feel you are good at something.
Right.
That is an absolutely underlying psychological need. Everyone needs to feel they're good at something. If you don't have a sense of mastery in your life, you will be depressed and anxious, right? Or you're much more likely to become depressed and anxious. And I think, again, because it's very striking to me, I've got teenage nephews, I've got godsons. We actually don't ask anything of young men, right? Very rarely are they actually asked to do very much. They're not given responsibilities, right? I think, and look, again, I want to stress that most people playing video games are not addicted. It's a perfectly good form of pleasure.
They're
for most
very
people.
addictive.
They're not. Most people playing them have a healthy relationship with them in the same way that
I don't know if that's true.
Okay, maybe tell me about.
I think a lot of people playing them have a real problem with them. They take up massive hours of their time. It's a giant problem with young boys. The thing is, it's become an actual avenue for a career now. There's esports careers where these young guys are making millions of dollars playing video games. It's not like the old days where you would say, hey, you're wasting your life. Now it's basically almost like practicing golf. But we have a setup back here where we play video games against each other. It's very addictive. Don't you think it's addictive?
Sure. Yeah. So it's like basketball when I was younger, too. I loved playing basketball. Couldn't get me to I'd play in the rain.
Right. The basketball has movement and exercise attached to it, so you get some positive benefit from that addiction. I was definitely addicted to jiu-jitsu. I would even train when I was injured, but what does that mean? It means I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed not doing it. The difference between a lot of video game addictions and particularly gambling addictions is that they tend to wreck people's lives.
When you had this period of jiu-jitsu addiction, did you, because I think it's an interesting distinction there, were you doing it to avoid some kind of pain in your life? Or were you doing it because you just really deeply loved it?
It's really fun.
Right.
So you're chasing the thrill. I'm
not sure
certain I was avoiding pain with almost everything I've done in my life in some way, shape, or form. There's some of it where you're trying to do something positive to mitigate the pain or the frustration or the anger or whatever it is that's bothering you. But I don't, the video game thing was a real addiction, though. It was like a compulsion. And
How long did it last?
Doing it, years. Yeah.
How did
years.
you get out of it, Joe?
I quit. I just quit cold turkey. Stopped playing. I realized it was kind of messing up my life and my career. It was just taking up way too much time. And I came to a realization. I was like, I got to stop doing this. I'm just playing way too much. And so I just said, the only way, I'm just too competitive. I enjoyed it too much. And so the only way to do it was to stop playing it altogether. And we started playing it again recently after more than 15 years of ever playing it at all. It's still addictive, but I'm so busy now I can't really fall into the grip of it. I'm actually just enjoying it for an hour here or there.
But that's so interesting in itself, isn't it? That's a bit like the rat part principle. It feels to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that like the more you have in your life that is meaningful, that is good and gives you pleasure or a sense of mastery, the less space there will be for these objects of obsession to come in, right? And I think that is a principle that's true. This was the principle behind the Portuguese drug decriminalization, right? If we give people good lives, they will not want to anesthetize themselves so much. It was the Swiss principle. And I think we all see that in our lives to different degrees. The happier I am, the less I want to turn to the behaviors that I developed as a child to avoid being present with like violence and aggression. Like, I don't think of like writing as an addiction. It might be a compulsion. If I have a day when I don't do it, I feel terrible. But something that is positive and rewarding, I don't think is an addiction, right?
Sure.
Something that enriches your life and is it's a way of living life in the most fulfilling way for
You call
you.
it an obsession, maybe a positive obsession.
Yeah, a compulsion, obsession, a way of being in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like sometimes I get people saying to me, like, oh, am I addicted to sex or whatever? And you want to say, and I often say, well, does it give you pleasure? Is it is it a way of avoiding pain? If it gives you pleasure and it's not a way of avoiding pain, it's not an addiction. It's just a happy way of being in the world, right? And that's the reality for. And again, I think this really helps us because partly what I'm arguing in Lost Connections and Chasing the Scream is we need to deeply reconceptualize how we think about these forms of pain like depression and addiction. And this isn't some wacky view. This is the view of the World Health Organization, these leading medical bodies when it comes to depression. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, that's really what it is. It's an ideological battle, and in that sense, veganism becomes very much like a religion because you support all the people that are on your side, and the people that are opposed to you are like apostates. They're like the negative people that are trying to bring you to the dark side, to hell. It gets really crazy. And there's a lot of evidence on their side in terms of like factory farming and the horrors of factory farming, and even the really incredibly poor modern American diet that they see. A lot of people, when they go vegan, what they're doing, one of the best things that they're doing is they're eliminating all the bullshit. They're eliminating all the trans fats and all the terrible shit that a lot of people eat that isn't vegan.
Yeah.
But the negative thing is most of them are eating diets that are far too carbohydrate rich, and if they're not getting their blood checked, they don't even know how unhealthy they are. They convince themselves they're doing much better and they're feeling much better. But a lack of cholesterol can fuck with your hormone functions. A lot of vegans have low hormones because of that.
We one of our regulars at Antler was talking to me about his experience. He used to have a organic vegetable farm, and he's a 6'7", big, huge, tall Dutch white guy. And he goes to me, he says, I was vegan for a long time. I had this organic vegetable farm, and I thought that I was doing my body a service. I thought I was doing something great for my body. And he got really sick, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, listen, man, you have to take supplements to supplement the things you're not getting from eating meat, or you have to go back to eating meat, because just some people's bodies do better than others. He said a lot of Asian cultures are more susceptible to vegetable diets, but he's like, in reality, he's like, you're a Northern European, descent, and you need to eat, this stuff to be healthy. And that's when he went back to eating meat. And it doesn't matter, what you're trying. Like he was living on an organic vegetable farm. Like what more healthy, vegetables could he be eating? So
yeah, B12 is a big one, and B12 essentially only comes from things other than vegetables. You can get some of it from algae. You definitely can get it from meat. It's rich in meat. And the other thing is iron. Iron, people say, well, there's iron in vegetables. There is, but it's not very bioavailable.
Right.
And a lot of the various vitamins and even protein in vegetables not very bioavailable in most sources.
And it's how your body absorbs those nutrients as well. Like it might be rich in that substance, but your body can't really absorb it.
Well, it's just everybody's body's different. I mean, that is an absolute fact that there are some people that can eat certain diets and be very healthy, and then other people eat them and they have a really hard time with them.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that most of these people that are talking about how healthy and how great they feel, there's a lot of it is sort of a placebo effect, and they're not getting blood work done. Everyone, regardless of what your diet is, you should get blood work done just to find out if you have any potential problems that are on the horizon. Because there's a lot of times you'll feel okay, and then you get your blood work done, and the doctor will tell you, hey, man, you're really low in vitamin B and D and A, and, you need this and that. And, this is the health consequences of not having this stuff in your diet. And if you are committed to a vegan diet, there's ways that you can supplement. And this is my advice to people. If you want to supplement, first of all, algae is a great one. It tastes like shit, but it's very good for your body. And you just add it to smoothies, just add it with coconut milk or a bunch of other things. You can do it. I mean, you definitely can eat a vegan diet and be healthy, but you got to be on the ball.
Yeah.
And the B12 one is a big one. It's a massive amounts. I was reading some crazy article the other day. It said something like 90% of all vegans are B12 deficient.
I've heard this. I'm not an expert, but I've been reading about it. Yeah.
It's terrible. There's a guy named Chris Kresser that I've had on my podcast before, who's a brilliant guy who is he's an expert in diet and nutrition who started out as a macrobiotic vegan and had massive health problems, and then switched to eating meat eventually, and then really became a connoisseur of organ meat, which is like probably the most nutrient dense food in the world.
I love that's my favorite thing about hunting is the organ meat.
Me too, man. I love liver.
Liver and the heart. I went hunting and I came back and I brought the heart into the restaurant for the guys because I wanted to share with them like the experience of eating like fresh killed. Like the heart was still warm when I brought it to work. And I the way I like to eat is either tartare, like just mince it up raw, or cook it like a steak. So I cut it, horizontally into like, it looks like a tenderloin steak. And we all got like this like buzz, like we just like shot a double espresso or something. It was just like, whoa. And it's like, it's so nutrient rich, the organ meat.
So tell me about this carnivore diet.
Sure.
Because I had Sean Baker in here and he talked to me about it, but he doesn't have any science. There's no he doesn't have any like real tests or any long-term studies or anything like that. And, I'm a person who believes in balance. And I think that you need phytonutrients, you need plant fiber. I think there's a lot of healthy stuff that you get from plants. I'm a big believer in eating meat, though. But all meat. You guys are doing all meat.
Well, I think I've modified it.
I think there's some holes in
it. One at a time, boys.
Yeah, I think there's some holes in every diet.
Right.
I think when you go and you make the decision to only eat meat, then some rational thought should come into your head. Maybe when I switch all the way to just meat all the time, maybe there's a possibility I'm going to eat too much meat. And so maybe that would make sense to bring in some fruit and bring in some vegetables just so you're not eating too much meat, for the simple reason vegetables have been shown, and there's, you can get a study to show you anything, but there's a study that's been done on 200,000 people that went on for 14 years, and they studied vegetables. They studied every type of vegetable, and they found that they were more neutral than they were harmful or good for you. They found that fruit was a little bit better for you. And again, you can have any study say anything.
Wait a minute. What is this study?
It's called the Pure Study.
Wait a minute. They said that vegetables are neutral? What does that mean?
They're neutral.
They don't really help you that much.
They weren't necessarily great, and they weren't necessarily bad. I don't
know
what
in comparison to what, though?
I don't know what their standard was for what they were looking for exactly, but the main thing they were looking for was it being protective in terms of your heart. That was the main thing they were looking at. So they found out that saturated fat is protective of your heart. They found out that cholesterol is actually protective of your heart. They found out that salt is. Now it's all like, without, you can't take in tons and tons of salt because then something's going to.
Well, salt can kill you. If you eat a pound of salt, you're dead. Salt's one of those things that's really good for you. It's an essential mineral.
To a certain extent.
But if you take too much of it, you
So
will
I think
die.
any of these things can be done too far. I jumped on a carnivore diet just to give it a shot and to see exactly what it was about.
Why did you do that? Because you talked to Sean Baker?
Yeah, he was on your podcast. I got inspired to do it. He was already doing it. So I was like, all right, let me try it out. I tried it out, got leaner, felt better, and I was like, this is pretty cool.
And why'd you start it?
So I was doing a ketogenic diet for over a year. Lost a lot of weight on that. Was doing great.
You look really good, man. You look very thin and healthy.
I appreciate it.
He looks healthy, doesn't he?
Your face looks healthy.
I still have a long way to go, in my opinion. This is a work in progress, but the reason I did it was really simple. It's a dietary intervention. I went through sobriety, as you know. I was a drug addict and an alcoholic for about 6 years. And when I went through sobriety, that's an intervention. Like there's something wrong. There's a problem. We need to fix it. So my problem now was arthritis. And I needed something that was like an intervention that would get me from, being arthritic and in pain and not being able to lift to being able to lift. And so some of this might be a placebo effect of me going like, well, I'm on this diet and I feel great and whatever. And so I'm now lifting more. Some of it may be a placebo effect, and that's okay with me if it is, but I feel excellent on this diet, and I think the reason is I'm getting a lot more protein in. I wasn't getting enough protein on keto because I was listening to everybody say, well, it'll knock you out of ketosis if you eat too much protein, and that's what I constantly was being told, but I wasn't muscular. I wasn't being able to put on muscle.
Well, you were constantly testing your blood levels. Were you using a meter?
Yeah, every day about 3 or 4 times. Like I'm crazy with it because
what would knock you out of ketosis?
The things that would knock me out of ketosis were just like mainly anything with carbohydrates. I wasn't really having too much of a problem with protein because I wasn't eating a lot of protein. But there were things that if I cheated on my diet, for example, of course that would usually kick me out of ketosis. But then I also got to a point where you become so fat adapted that you become what we like to call metabolically flexible. Metabolic flexibility just means you can switch from being a fat burner. You know, I'm mostly a fat burner for the most part because I'm eating high fat. But then if I do eat something with sugar in it, it doesn't really affect me that much because
Your body's
I'm
used to it.
90% going with the fat. So I can kind of move back and forth between those two things. But what I realized on the carnivore diet, when I switched over to carnivore, the whole time I was thinking, man, if I could just have an apple, I would feel so much better. Because just eating this steak, it's killing me and it's driving me crazy.
Well, how's it killing you?
Just mentally, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't tough enough to just say, okay, I'll just have steak on a plate. Like
Yeah,
for some
mentally,
reason,
you automatically use intermittent fasting almost because you're like, you don't always have a hamburger in your pocket, or you don't always run through In-N-Out Burger or whatever it might be. But yeah, you end up utilizing some intermittent fasting, and you're like, fuck, man, the only food I have to eat is a hamburger or steak.
That's where I was at,
and
and it was hamburger or steak, and I'm like, well, how about an apple? So I talked to our friend Stan Efferding, who's a bodybuilder, and he's huge, he's
jacked,
and he's also a power lifter, and
51 years old too, and fucking jacked.
One of the smartest guys I know. And he sent me that study that I sent to you with about the fruit. And I don't know if you watched that or not, but basically they did a large scale study with fruit, and they found out that the fruit actually would drive blood glucose down instead of bringing it up when taken with protein like red meat. And so I'm like looking at this going like, well, if it's not going to drive my glucose up, I mean, that'd be the one thing I'm concerned with. Why not have some fruit? And so then I'm talking with Stan about it. He was saying, like, I think fruit is totally fine, and I think you can have as much as you want. And so I sort of switched over.
That sounds crazy though, because that's sugar. I mean, your body. How is your body not?
So your body
its blood glucose level.
They've done studies where they've studied fructose. So like everybody thinks fructose is really bad.
Well, they think that because of high fructose corn syrup.
And fructose is really bad when it's outside of fruit.
Right.
But for some reason, fruit has these phytonutrients. It has fiber in it. And those things sort of like protect you from what's going on in the sugar. They actually, there's phytonutrients in fruit, like say an apple. There's certain phytonutrients in there that won't allow your small intestine to like absorb the fat. And so it actually helps you to digest things like red meat that have high fat.
There's cofactors in fruit that help you digest the sugars in them.
And
it's not like
too
it's
sure.
zeroed out.
I'm not a doctor. I'm a filmmaker, so I start. You know, I'm basically ask a lot of questions to a lot of people and start figuring things out, and then it's trial and error. Right now, I'm in the trial and error part, and it seems like it's been working pretty good. So
now, are you getting your blood work done?
Yes, just got my blood work done from last month, and everything improved from keto to carnivore. I didn't really have any cholesterol issues. I didn't have any. What were my issues?
We've had our blood work done probably 4 or 5 times in the last year or so, I would say.
Yeah.
And, not all the numbers are fucking great, but for the most part, it's been pretty healthy. The cholesterol's been good. The triglycerides have been good. This doesn't show up in your blood.
What's not good?
Just it's not in the high range of of what it shows you on the sheet. And then we also had other people.
For what?
In terms of like the triglycerides and the cholesterol and stuff like that. That's what you're talking about.
Well, like what you're saying? What's not good?
I'm just saying,
not in a
like,
high range.
I'm saying everything's been pretty good. Like this last time, I did have my I had one of my markers kind of high.
We both had high C-reactive protein, and we're not sure why. So that's something that we have to like look into.
And what is C-reactive protein?
It's a marker for inflammation, and my C-reactive
specifically of the heart.
Yeah,
not good.
My C-reactive
you both
protein.
Had this.
Mine was really high on keto, but then after I went keto to carnivore, it came way, way down. So I don't know where it is right now.
Yeah, I also had a really high. Mine registered really high out of nowhere. It was totally fine with all the blood work I've had done, and the last one I had done, it skyrocketed. People were saying, well, maybe it's because you worked out beforehand, or
right. You have to be. Were you consistent in when you ate, when you got your test done? Were you guys on a fast?
I trained beforehand, so I might have fucked it up.
Oh, you fucked it up for sure.
Yeah,
when you train, you
that's
should
what I'm
never
saying.
test yourself after the way you train.
Yeah,
you train like a fucking animal.
The blood work, it's a snapshot in time, and we hear that a lot.
Right.
And I think that that's important to realize and recognize that it's just this one snapshot in time, and we constantly change all the time.
That's
so
particularly important with dietary cholesterol.
Yeah.
I mean, with cholesterol in the blood, the way it registers, if you have a big, fat-filled meal
Right.
and then go and get a blood test versus you fasting, it's like, how is your body absorbing this is what's really important. How's your body absorbing these essential nutrients, not like what happens right after you eat, because your body knows what to do with that stuff.
my cholesterol was 190, which is good. I mean, they want it to be under 200. But I thought what was really interesting was my HDL went way up from by like 60 points. It went up going from keto to carnivore.
Well, are you eating a lot of fatty cuts like ribeyes and stuff like that?
Mostly
Yeah.
ribeyes. Yeah, I'd say
That's
mostly.
what I like a lot of dietary fat. I like a lot of like meat fat.
I think there's a certain point, right? Because I don't know. Before, when I was doing a ketogenic diet, the fat is kind of free flowing because you make your bulletproof coffees and you're just dumping fat and everything.
MCT
You're
oil.
putting butter
Right.
on everything.
Right.
But
Might
when
be
you have
overdoing it, yeah.
when you have a steak, what's really nice about having a steak is you're right about 65 to 75% fat already. Like just
you're
out
eating
of,
corn
out of the
fed.
box. Yeah.
You're eating corn-fed beef. Is that what you're eating?
I eat both. I think that the difference between the grass-fed and the grain-fed, there really isn't a substantial amount of proof of how much better that is. I do know that grass-fed beef has 5 times the amount of omega-3.
Yeah.
So you always want to pick grass-fed beef when you can. But a lot of people can't afford it. And also, for me, the best meat is at Costco. That's the best tasting meat that you're going to find. I've been everywhere.
Why is Costco better?
It just tastes the best.
I think they
got the
shop
best.
around for the best stuff.
They have the best
Really?
meat.
I
Yeah.
think they do,
does.
yeah.
And it's
So
corn.
fuck some like expensive butcher shop.
It's corn
Go to
fed.
Costco.
I think Costco's outstanding.
Do you know
across the
Costco
board.
is all organic now too? Mm-hmm.
That's a weird word though.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
word is so loosely defined.
Sure.
What is organic? Well, we didn't spray it with a fucking chemical right before we gave it to you.
Right.
It's like,
There is a
what is exactly organic?
you have
meat?
to pay to get organic status too.
Right.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
You have to pay a lot of money because I remember talking to Bulletproof, and the guy was telling me like you have to Dave Asprey. He's telling me you have to pay money to get recognized as being organic. So
I would
that's
take
some
whatever
sort
that
of-
guy says with a fat grain of salt.
Yeah, sure, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you have to pay to get it to be.
I wonder if that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it is true.
Is it that you have to pay?
uh,
Well, I mean, I'm sure it costs money to get tested and to make sure that you're
Right.
certified.
Yeah, it says something like that. You have to
But-
pay money for it.
I mean, there has to be some sort of a
gotta
test.
be a
And test costs
regulation,
money.
yeah.
I mean, but when you're looking at the standards, like what does that mean? It means no antibiotics, no added hormones, right? Is that what it
Right.
means?
I
and
believe
for
so, yeah,
food,
for-
it means no pesticides, right?
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, for plant
Fruits and vegetables, yeah.
for fruits and plants. What the one thing that concerns me with grass-fed meat is that you're eating. Well, you're definitely getting a more expensive cut, but you're eating an animal that is eating what it's supposed to eat.
Yeah.
You know, when you're eating like. I've had Wagyu beef and Kobe beef.
Right.
It's delicious.
It's awesome, yeah.
But that thing's dead. That's a dying animal. That's like eating a giant fat guy about to have a heart attack. I mean, all that marbling, that's not supposed to happen. Like, you shoot a bison, like a free-range bison, you get a dark ruby red hunk of meat. I mean, and that's a
I'd have
fucking
to say
vibrant
that
animal.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
But there isn't science to really support that eating the cow that was fed with soy or corn is necessarily way worse. And so I might just be stupid for waiting for that to come out.
It could
But
be worse.
hold on a second. You just said that there's way more omega fatty acids in grass-fed beef. Omega fatty acids are essential
Sure.
for brain development, muscle development. There's so many benefits to those essential fatty acids. And if those are more present in grass-fed meat, wouldn't you just assume that grass-fed meat is more nutritious?
Yeah, I would say that it has more omega 3.
Right.
It might be more nutritious in that particular way.
Right.
But I say, like, is the cost benefit? The other day I went and bought grass-fed meat from Whole Foods. $33.99 a pound for a fillet. $19.99 a pound at Costco for a fillet. The Costco one is so much better. The one from Whole Foods was almost not edible. Like, it didn't taste good.
It's a real tough piece of meat sometimes.
And so
Tough fillet?
At Whole Foods, I don't know why they have crappy meat.
For some reason, grass-fed stuff sometimes
And it's
a little
super
tougher.
expensive.
Did you get a sponsorship for Costco right before you came here
No,
today?
no.
We did
I
actually
am
nail it.
super suspicious.
No
We nailed it.
sponsorships. But what I'm saying is that I've gone to a lot of places to try to find what meat I thought tastes
Right.
the best, and so for me, sometimes I have to you have to eat a lot of meat. And if it doesn't
Yeah.
taste that good, you're not going to get through it. So I prefer to have meat that tastes better. I like for grass-fed meat, I like to use grass-fed beef patties because they're a little fattier and they just taste really. Those taste
easier
fine
to
to
eat,
me,
yeah.
But the grass-fed steaks they don't really taste as good. So I just kind of switch back and forth.
I think these are some of the smaller issues. These aren't the main things that we're really trying to fight. My brother and I, we just took on to do another film, and he and I are doing this one together on nutrition. And we're trying to find out some truths. I mean, we're trying to find out about grass-fed and organic and all these different things. But mainly, we're just trying to figure out how the fuck do we help fight obesity? How do we help fight diabetes? How do we help people gain control of their diet? And I think that's really, truly what we're talking about is control. And you look at something like a ketogenic diet, in my opinion, it's one of the few diets that can really help people with control of their diet because it can help break up the cravings. And that's really ultimately, I think, where our fight is against cravings of all these convenient foods that taste so fucking good.
Well, the
that are in our
cravings
face
of
all the time.
refined carbohydrates and sugars.
Absolutely.
Those are giant.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary called "What the Health." Have you seen it?
It's filled with a lot of propaganda. And
Ah,
nonsense.
propaganda. Damn, those guys
It
again,
is.
like the Nazis. I remember
Well,
them.